Whoa, this shirt kind of is a little crazy. Let's see how it rolls. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Showtime, every day just after noon, right here on Phantom, the new world order of sports media. Thank you all for being a part of today's show, an everyday show for that matter, as I take you into the world of the Dallas Cowboys, and we interact, and we do this every day at noon. So again, thank you all for being a part of the show today and every day. Like G. Garcia, Cody Arnold, Kerry Teagle, they're all in the house, everyday streamers. So become part of the show and post your comments. What do you want to talk about? Preseason is over. So now we talk expectations. We talk Final 53. And we talk big question marks facing this team after watching them in 4 preseason games, which the Cowboys scored 43 total points the entire preseason and went 0-4. Chris Bennett says, what's up? This time tomorrow night, the Longhorns will be playing. Let's hope it goes a little bit different than it did last year against Maryland. Believe it will. By the way, it's funny because speaking of Maryland, the Cowboys will open up the season against the Carolina Panthers, who took DJ Moore in the first round of the draft, a guy that a lot of Cowboys fans thought they should have drafted. So that should be an interesting dynamic in Game 1 if DJ Moore has a big game or Michael Gallup doesn't have a big game. Or it's going to be very interesting to see how the former Maryland wide receiver DJ Moore does for Carolina in Week 1 against the Cowboys. All right, on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, Art Barrera and Anthony Becerra, it's a lot of B's and R's joining the show. Anthony Becerra says Cowboys number 1. Mark May says, anybody here if we're going to trade for Earl Thomas? Nothing on that front yet. But, it'll be interesting to see, right? It's one thing to miss all of training camp, like Khalil Mack or Earl Thomas. It's another thing to start to miss games in those game checks. So it'll be interesting to see if the Seahawks feel any added pressure to unload him. But obviously the Cowboys have felt, no need. Either the Cowboys haven't felt the need to, really go out there and make a trade and offer something that gets this thing done, or the Seahawks aren't willing to trade him to the Cowboys. One of those two things is happening right now. So we'll see how that plays out. Billy Burke says hello from Virginia. Billy, how are you, sir? Vergi Piazzo says, I just hope we get a win. Desan Brown says, sign Earl Thomas already. They can't sign him. They need to be trading for him. They can sign him next offseason, which is most likely what they're waiting to do, so they don't have to give up a second-round draft pick in order to get him now. My buddy Neil Favre in the house. What's up, Ari? Thompson over Lenore. Yeah, so what's interesting is, we obviously thought that was a really good camp battle coming down to the end. Lance Lenore had a great camp, had a really good preseason. Deontay Thompson had a sore Achilles the entire camp, didn't play much, didn't practice much. So Lance Lenore seemingly had the leg up when it came to that 6th and what we think to be final roster spot for the wide receivers. Well, Deontay Thompson didn't play in Week 4 of the preseason, getting the preferential treatment that we normally associate with guys that are on the roster. So, sucks for Lenore because he's got to look at this and think, what else could I have done? But that's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes you get caught up in a numbers game, and the Cowboys at least try to do him a favor, I suppose, by featuring him throughout the entirety of preseason week number 4, sort of give him a opportunity to show out for the rest of the league. So my guess is because Thompson didn't play last night, it's a pretty good indication that Thompson will be their 6th wide receiver. And it's, quite frankly, probably the right move. Thompson has NFL experience. He's explosive. He looked really good last week in practice. So, it sucks for Lenore. Good dude. Had a great camp. But I think it's the right move to put Thompson on their roster as opposed to Lance Lenore. Joe Tranchina also watches this show every day. What up, Joe? He says, what's up? Keith Batchelor says, that's a plunging neckline you got there. Mark Martin says hello. He also says Lance Lenore out and Noah Brown and Lance Lenore done. Yes, yeah. And Lance Lenore, if he clears waivers, will end up back on the Cowboys practice squad. But who knows if he'll actually clear waivers. Mark May says Texas A&M looks good this year. Had the nice victory over Northwestern State last night, which you'd expect. Plus, Mark, I'll add, even in Kevin Sumlin's run as the head coach at A&M, they played pretty well early season. Early season, A&M had no problems with. It's the the latter portion of the season they have problems with. But someone's gone. Jimbo's in. Won't have the same problems. All right, let's see here. Kerry Teagle asks if Lance Lenore did enough to make the 53. I mean, I think it was already decided before the game that Deontay Thompson was going to make this roster and not Lance Lenore. So, I think they featured him all night last night to try to give him a good showing for the rest of the league. G. Garcia says, I'm calling it now. Cam will get sacked at least 4 times. Wow. Jesse Garcia says, it's real now. No more clapping for nothing. Our coach better clap with a purpose. Let's see here. Cody Arnold says, I'm really worried about backup quarterback and safety. Looney can get it done until Frederick comes back. Yeah, look. As far as the backup quarterback is concerned, it's definitely concerning. But you're going to be in trouble if Dak Prescott gets hurt anyways. The success of this team is predicated on Dak's availability. So, look, I agree. Cooper Rush basically the exact opposite preseason this year that he had last year. And would they like to upgrade the position? Yes. The question is, would they upgrade, in their minds through free agency with an RG3, which we've talked about obviously in this stream, or somebody else in the open market, over a guy that's been here and has a familiarity with the offense? I'm not sure. And quite frankly, I don't know what the answer is. It's one of those things where I'm kind of like, well, yeah, Cooper Rush has looked horrible this preseason. And the idea, well, he didn't play with ones. It goes both ways. He's playing against threes also. So, it's tough. I certainly think there's a lot of question marks about it. Will they keep 3? Will they keep Mike White? Jesse Holley, my co-host on the pre- and post-game show for the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, suggested they use Mike White as their backup because he thought they could probably sneak Cooper Rush onto their practice squad, but they wouldn't be able to do that for Mike White. If they released him, he'd probably get picked up. So, it'll be interesting to see if they try to maneuver that way. Joe Tranchina says, thank God preseason's over. It's too soon to push the panic button. Agreed. There's really literally no reason to push the panic button after a miserable preseason. It was horribly boring. I think ultimately we've seen some really good play. We've seen some really good play from their defense, especially their first string defense. Their first team offense has played well, but we haven't even seen Zeke Elliott play with the first team offense. So who really knows how good they can look? But it's going to be a different look with Joe Looney. I wrote about this actually on 105 Through the Fan. I wrote an article today. Check it out on my Twitter at RE Sports, or on Facebook. I tweeted out a link for it. But we talked with Lincoln Kennedy on the pregame show for week 3 of the preseason. Former three-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro with the Oakland Raiders at the offensive line, and he was saying about the dynamic between Travis Frederick and Zach Martin, and Looney looks fine, right? But there's things that makes the Cowboys dominant that you can't really teach Looney, and this is what Lincoln Kennedy was talking about. There is a unspoken bond between those two guys, like Zach Martin and Travis Frederick. They know where each other is going to be, so they don't have they can communicate without having to communicate because they know where the guy's supposed to be. They know where they're going to be. That's Zach Martin's going to be playing against a new center for the first time in his NFL career, so it's not going to be the same. So it's going to be, again, I think Looney looks to be as good of a replacement as they could possibly have for an All-Pro player. But there's a part of the dominance of that offensive line that's going to be lost here, obviously, and that such a big piece is the communication that those two guys have to be in sync with one another seemingly all the time. Make sure to post your comments. Hit the share button. Ryan Ariano says, GM Ari, excited to hear your takes. Appreciate that. Nikki Barnes says, I hope Chaz Green be gone. We need Dak not to get hurt because we in trouble if we do. Yeah, Chaz Green's not going to make this football team. If you heard last night, the Cowboys traded Travarius Ward, promising undrafted free agent corner at Middle Tennessee State, for Parker Anger of the Kansas City Chiefs, who is a former 4th-round pick. He started 6 games in 2 years, but has had a lot of injuries. But, he's a guy that the Chiefs at one point, as a rookie, plugged in as a starting left guard. So he's going to make the team. And then, along with Looney and Fleming, so you have your 5 starters, and then those 3. So the question is, will they keep 9? Will they keep a Kadeem Edwards? to me, the ninth guy would be Kadeem Edwards. It wouldn't be Chaz Green. So I would be shocked if they kept Chaz Green over Kadeem Edwards. And that's only if they keep 9. They're definitely to keep 8. And if he's the 8, he's definitely not a part of that. On the Phantom page at facebook.com/watchphantom, Diego Maestas says Rush was horrible. If Dak goes down, we're in trouble. Can you imagine him against ones? Yeah, no, that's a great point. Tim Hasty's in the house says, what's up, Rob? Just getting here. How's it going, Tim? Hit the share button if you wouldn't mind. I think obviously the Cowboys did not perform well with their backup quarterback, and neither neither Cooper Rush or Mike White inspired much confidence if Dak Prescott goes down. But let's be honest, do the Cowboys have much of a shot if Dak Prescott goes down, regardless of who's in there? So, I mean, this thing's built with their offensive line and the running game, and it's built with Dak Prescott in the zone read. So, maybe that makes RG3 more of a valuable candidate potentially because he's more familiar and has a greater familiarity with that zone read. All right, Brett Foster says, do you think the Cowboys could justify a second-round pick for Thomas, given that they aren't really... Yeah, I've said all along, if you call up Seattle today and you say, I'll give you a second-round pick for Earl Thomas, and that gets the job done, then do it. That's my feeling on it. I don't know if that gets the job done today. But if it does, I would say yes, absolutely do it. Let's see here. Cody Arnold says, people say, oh, it's the preseason. These are the second and third stringers playing. Didn't they realize have to expand this to try and see it more, which it's not the most easiest thing to do on this iPad. Sorry, I look stupid. But I'll try to read the rest of your comment, Cody, and I'll get to it in a moment here. I also want to make sure I'm checking in on all the other pages. Shout out to our partners here at Phantom who helped to spread this show. Danny Easley commenting at facebook.com/watchphantom. You think Dallas would pick up Dobbs from Pittsburgh, who plays like Dak, as a backup? That could Joshua Dobbs could be a good option. Again, it comes down to, would the Cowboys go with familiarity, a guy like Cooper Rush, who's more familiar with the Cowboys offense, versus a new guy that is more of a duplicate of what Dak Prescott is. An RG3, but obviously he's older and has injury history. Joshua Dobbs, potentially. So it'll be interesting to see. I guess my inclination is to say the way that Cooper Rush played this entire preseason, he had ample opportunities. That should not leave you much confidence, and that you probably should be looking for a second string beyond him. But the question then is, what do you do with Mike White? Kerry Teagle says, any news in the Randy Gregory meeting with the doctor? Yeah, everything that came out was positive about it, that it was part of the plan all along is his reinstatement, and that everything's, that he's ready to go for week 1 of the preseason. So this is just part of the reinstatement process that he was going to have to go through anyways. On the Law Nation Facebook page, Johnny Kaz says, once again, go get Earl. Jay Rich says, I need people to stop saying Rush or White needs to work with the ones. No other backup quarterback worked with. This is really frustrating. These stupid emojis keep getting in the way. Yeah, on the pregame show, we were talking about that, and, Brian Broaddus kind of made mention of it, like, well, would you think he'd be better if he were playing with ones? It's like, yeah, I think so, but also, like, Cooper Rush was really good last year in the preseason. So he played really well in the same exact circumstance last season during the preseason and played really poorly this year. So if he made the roster last year because of how well he played against third and fourth stringers, and then the next year he plays poorly, why are we now being like, well, if he played with the ones, he'd look amazing? I mean, he looked amazing last year playing with 3s and 4s. So, again, not an argument I buy, but at the same time, I also think, like, if you're prioritizing issues, I'm okay with the Cowboys going out and signing a Joshua Dobbs or an RG3 or somebody else. I'm also okay with them probably keeping Cooper Rush. I'm not going to lose sleep over it because I think, Dak Prescott's their best option. And if they lose him, this is a guy that's played every start possible of his career. So if they lose him, they're in trouble. All right, let's see here. Now I want to check over on YouTube. Shout out to the Law Nation 2.0 page over on YouTube. By the way, in the next few hours, we have a brand new show on Phantom that's going to be debuting across the Watch Mojo YouTube platform, which has over 30 million subscribers across all of its channels. Watch Mojo and Phantom are in a partnership now for a weekly fantasy football show. The premiere debut episode of that show will be premiering in the next couple of hours. So stay tuned for links to that and make sure to check it out. And then also post, share it, help us spread the word about our brand new show called What the Football, or WTF, depending on how you look at it. So again, in the next few hours, we're going to premiere that show on the Watch Mojo channel on YouTube. We're really excited about that. So Law Nation 2.0 page. So broadcasting live over there. Let's see if there's comments coming in there, as I'm sure they are always. The U says Zeke for a full 16! Exclamation point. Yes. Tyrone Church, how do you feel the Cowboys trade for Quentin Rollins or Terrence Brooks? Depends on what they have to give up. You know, they have depth. Like, here's a question: Bo Scarborough or Darius Jackson? I know a lot of Jesse Holley on the pregame or the postgame show last night said Darius Jackson. I said Bo Scarborough, but if you're willing to talk me into Darius Jackson, I'm willing to buy it. Jesse's rationale, which was spot on for keeping Darius over Bo, is the style for which Darius Jackson runs fits the Cowboys mold better. You know, he's more of the zone blocking kind of running back. He's got more athleticism, more as opposed to the Scarborough, who's a one cut and go kind of back. But the reason I bring that up is because what if now one of those guys becomes available? You know, one of those guys now you can trade away, and I mean that's. Oh, Zach tells me 2 p.m. Eastern time. 2 p.m. Eastern time. Is that 2 p.m. Eastern, Zach? So right as this show is ending, the debut episode of WTF, What the Football on Watch Mojo will premiere. At any rate, so check that out. I will make sure to tweet out, Facebook out links. William Miner Jr. says, Bo. My Cowboys family says, what's up, Ari? Heard they might keep Chaz Green but cut Rico. Where'd you hear that from? I just talked about this. They just traded for Parker Anger, an interior offensive lineman of the Chiefs. So you count their 5 that start, plus Cam Fleming, Joe Looney, and now Parker Anger. That's 8. The question is, will they keep a 9th? So they might just keep 8, and Chaz Green and Kadeem Edwards don't make this team. I thought, now maybe because Parker Anger is an interior offensive lineman and Chaz Green is a tackle, they'd keep Chaz Green as the 9th over Kadeem Edwards. I wouldn't say they're going to keep Chaz Green over Rico as much as I would say, you know, they have a important need on their line, way more so than the numbers at tight end. You know, I think if they keep 3 tight ends, they should certainly keep Rico as one of those 3. I would keep him over Dalton Schultz with the way that Dalton Schultz has played, but I wouldn't say, well, they're keeping Chaz Green over Rico Gathers because they probably need to carry 9 offensive linemen. And either they're going to try to make a trade or, again, I would probably keep Kadeem Edwards over Chaz Green, but just because, Chaz Green, not only, he's just looked bad throughout the majority of the preseason, as bad as he looked in Atlanta last year. Let's see here. We got a lot of comments coming on the Law Nation 2.0 YouTube page. A reminder that I'm trying to navigate all these different platforms and channels at the same time. The best, easiest way to get your comments heard is by going to facebook.com/WatchPhantom. Phantom. You can see it up here. Go to facebook.com/WatchPhantom, stream there, and that's the easy. I'm going to go to all these pages: Law Nation, Silver and Blue Nation, EBSN Online, Dallas Cowboys America's team page, the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page, all these different pages. I'll make sure to navigate to all of them eventually, but the best way, quickest way to get your comments heard and read is by facebook.com/WatchPhantom. I'm Ari Temkin from 105.3 The Fan, the Cowboys pre- and post-game show, and right here on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. Make sure to hit the share button. Thank you, CB, for that NWO reference, the New World Order of Sports Media. So make sure to post your comments, hit the share button. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to go over to our YouTube page and subscribe there. All right, Standard Only says, hey, Ari Temkin, Houston Texans 14, Dallas Cowboys 6, well going on 4 in the preseason, sends up red flags. I don't think so. There's context that's necessary, right? Zeke Elliott didn't play a snap the entire preseason. They played their first-team offense 6 possessions the entire preseason, if that. They only played in 2 games. So, they didn't score a lot of points, which you can attribute again to the lack of playing time for their first-team offense, and we didn't see any of Zeke. The last time the Cowboys went 0-4 in the preseason, they went 12-4 and Dez caught the football. So there's no correlation. Sometimes teams play well in the preseason and it correlates to success of the regular season. Sometimes teams play well in the preseason and it correlates to no success of the regular season. So therefore, ergo, there's no correlation. Joe Deasy says Cowboys should sign Eric Reed. Won't have time to worry about giving up draft picks. Joe, you know the answer to that question. They're not going to sign Eric Reed. You know why. And it's not just the Cowboys who are very outspoken about standing for the national anthem, but nobody signed Eric Reed right now for that same reason. G. Garcia says, you think we bait Taco for a trade? No, I don't think so. Because his value is so low, and I think the Cowboys have much higher value on him than the rest of the league does. Ian Goldberg in the house, do you think that we pick up RG3 if he's cut? I talked about this a little bit earlier, Ian. Somebody mentioned Joshua Dobbs from Pittsburgh, who could be on the chopping block. I mean, I guess I think, yeah, they probably should figure out a way to upgrade the backup quarterback position. It basically comes down to familiarity. Cooper Rush, who's more familiar with their offense, versus a guy that would be coming in new. My opinion of it is I've seen enough of Cooper Rush. He had a horrible preseason. So there's no excuses that you can lay that make me deviate from that opinion. However, the Cowboys and Jason Garrett, they're very conservative. They're very by the book. My thinking is they're going to go with the guy that knows the offense over bringing in somebody new. And then, of course, the real piece to this is what do they do with Mike White? Are they going to keep 3 quarterbacks? Do they try to pass one of those through onto the practice squad? Mike White was a draft pick. Will they be able to do that, or will somebody else pick him up? So, even if they went out and signed an RG3 or a Joshua Dobbs, what would they do with Mike White? The U says, I'm down with Dobbs. I'd rather him than RG3. Agreed. I mean, at this point, I've kind of seen RG3. RG3 is not who you want as your backup. If your quarterback's hurt, the last thing you want is a guy that's not going to play in double-digit games. Like his history suggests, he's basically, we view him as Sean Lee at this point. Although, obviously not as much of a monster when available. I'm just talking about from a health standpoint. Ninja Nuts says, I think that Swaim, Jarwin, and Schultz are all too similar to keep all 3. I don't think Rico is what so many Cowboys fans think he is, but he has a different dynamic. Agreed. Totally agree. Rico should be the 3rd tight end on this team for multiple reasons. And you're right about Jarwin and Swaim. Very similar. These were guys that were true blocking tight ends even in college. They're just not the athletic playmakers that a lot of teams have and feature at the tight end position. And, I know Rico has his issues, and I know he's probably overstated by Cowboys fans for a bunch of different reasons. But the bottom line is he has a different skill set than the other 2 or 3 guys in this roster. All right, let's see here. Joe Deasy says, RG3 behind a good line equals Mike Vick 2.0 JK. I'm glad you put the JK in there, Joe, because at first I didn't think you were JKing. Let's see here. Teron McKinnon says you definitely need a solid backup quarterback. Yeah, but what's the priority for the Cowboys right now? Safety, probably. Perhaps more help along their offensive line, especially if you're going to keep 9, and one of those 9 is Chaz Green. So when you only have X amount of roster spots, you've got to sort of make the most sense out of each positional group. The backup quarterback's important, but I also think in the history of Jason Garrett, there's the Dak Prescott year, but other than that, they haven't had much success when their starting quarterback goes down. Again, the Dak Prescott year is the one exception, but they were like 1 or 0-13 during one stretch over 3 years, or 1-13 over one stretch over 3 years without Romo. All right, let me get back over to Facebook. Joe Deasy says Rico made some plays this preseason. Rico makes plays every preseason. The problem is, and this is what we hear, is that he doesn't know the offense and doesn't know his assignments. And he doesn't have the trust of the coaching staff. And I don't know who to blame for that. Is it Rico Gathers, or is it Jason Garrett, or Scott Linehan, or what? But I'll say this again. Jason Garrett is not going to sabotage his own team. If Rico Gathers was as good of a player as everybody thinks he is, he'd probably play more snaps. All right, on the Silver and Blue Nation page, Ryan Drab in the house. Thank you, Ryan Drab, for sharing this. Appreciate that very much. Charles Selders says, get RG3. Zelda Wells says Jackson, Mississippi in the house. Jackson, Mississippi. Nice. I believe that is where Law Nation's from. Or close to it. John Patrick says, would Josh Dobbs be available for a trade, and would you be interested? Is he to be their second string? Isn't Landry, what's his name? Isn't Landry the Steelers' backup? Better question. Is Josh Dobbs on the Steelers? Did I just assume he was on the Steelers because he went to Pittsburgh? He went to Tennessee, didn't he? I'm all messed up with Joshua Dobbs. All right. Yeah, Steelers. And he went to Tennessee, right? Or did he transfer? Yeah, Tennessee. That's what I thought. And then for some reason, I started thinking he went to Pittsburgh, but no, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh. Was he their second string quarterback last year? Was it still Landry Jones? Landry Jones is garbage from Chris Bennett. I'm shocked you'd say that, Chris. I thought you were a huge OU fan. By the way, he is. I don't disagree with that. But I mean, I think if he's available, not for, I wouldn't trade for a backup quarterback. I would sign one potentially. I wouldn't trade for one. I wouldn't give up assets. I wouldn't give up a third-round pick for Teddy Bridgewater. It's funny how much people are enamored with this. The potential of a backup quarterback. I mean, I'm just of the belief that, like, let's say you sign Joshua Dobbs. Like, how optimistic are you about the Cowboys if Dak Prescott gets hurt? That's right. John Dyer says they drafted Mason Rudolph to back up Ben. Plus, I mean, they've got Dobbs, Mason Rudolph, and Landry Jones, and so they might just release him. But then again, it's like, okay, I mean, do you really think that they signed Joshua Dobbs and Dak gets hurt and, like, they're going to win football games? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but for me, offensive line's the concern, receivers the concern. Is this defense for real? Those are the legitimate concerns to have beyond who their backup quarterback is. By the way, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. A reminder that the premiere episode of What the Football from Phantom on the Watch Mojo YouTube platform will debut at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. So as immediately as this show is over, that show will debut. So I'd love for you all to check it out and give us your feedback on it as we continue to grow here at Phantom. Very excited about the premiere episode of our new weekly show premiering today at 2 o'clock Eastern on the Watch Mojo YouTube page. So make sure to check out the Watch Mojo YouTube page. All right, checking back in now on the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Let's see here. Still a lot of people on RG3 and backup quarterbacks. And like, how do you guys feel about the receivers? Shouldn't that be of greater dialogue? Like, shouldn't that bear greater... Billy Burke says player priorities, 1 is safety, 2 is great blocking tight end. Sure. But, like, for me, how concerned are you about the receivers? And, I wrote about this. Go check out the article I wrote on 105 Through the Fan. You can check it out. Just see my Twitter at RE Sports, ARI Sports. Or I posted a link on Facebook as well on my page. But this is the group they wanted. All offseason, the Cowboys and their coaching staff talked about what we need. We don't want a number one. We don't want a guy that's going to hold a gun to Dak's head telling him to get the football, right? Okay? So this is what they wanted. They wanted to have a group that was interchangeable, that Dak could spread the ball around, and that's how they felt they would be most successful. And so now they've made their bed. Now they have to lie in it. But there's a major concern over who's that number one. And what I mean by that is, and I know people all offseason have been like, who's the number one? And I'd be like, maybe it's Beasley, maybe it's Gallup. And even earlier during this offseason, I brought up this point about, Zeke Elliott's kind of that guy that week in and week out, defensive coordinators are going to have to game plan for. So in that regard, he's sort of a number one, because when you think of a number one receiver, you're thinking of a guy that teams consistently have to game plan for. But, I mean, we're talking about a 3rd and 8 situation when teams line up, and I talked about this yesterday, teams line up in the cover one, and they're going to double Cole Beasley, saying, we got you one-on-one on the outside. Like, that's why Dez was always in Dak's ear. Because that he was programmed to do that. Like with Romo, it was like, hey, Romo was like, anytime you're one-on-one, let me know and I'm going to get you the ball. Because the Cowboys felt when Romo was the quarterback and Dez was there, that Dez could win any one-on-one battle. No matter, you threw it to him, he was going to win. Who's that guy now for the Cowboys? Who's that guy now for the Cowboys? Michael Gallup? So I went and looked it up. The last rookie receiver to have over 1,000 yards receiving. Anybody have any idea when it was or who it was? If you read my article, you'll know the answer to this question. I'll give you a moment. Lisa Andriani, is that how I say it? Says, why do people care about a quarterback? We need safety and receiver help. Same page. All right, anybody have any idea last time, who was it? Who was the player, and what year was it? The last time a rookie wide receiver had over 1,000 yards receiving. Let me see if I can scroll through the page and see if anybody's got the answer to this. OBJ? No, but he did it. So OBJ did it as a rookie in 2014. So he's not the latest, but somebody did it the year after, 2015. And that's the last time, by the way. So OBJ did it in 14. Amari Cooper did it in 2015. And nobody did it in 2016. Nobody did it in 2017 as a rookie. By the way, was OBJ a first-round draft pick? Was Amari Cooper a first-round draft pick? Where was Michael Gallup taken? And this is not a knock on Gallup. I'm simply saying, like, it just doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't happen a lot that a guy's drafted and immediately becomes a 1,000-yard plus receiver. And maybe that's a bad, analytical metric point for me to point out. But to me, it was like, okay, a guy that has over 1,000 yards receiving, that certainly seems like a guy that's a number one. My Cowboys family on the Law Nation 2.0 YouTube page says Gallup will be part of the wide receiver by committee. Sure. But the question is, again, when you're in a 3rd and 8 and teams say, beat us one-on-one, who's that guy? I hope it's Gallup. I think it's Gallup. But do we have too high of expectations for a guy that was a 3rd-round draft pick, considering it's been 2 full seasons? 2015 was the last time a rookie wide receiver had over 1,000 yards receiving. It was the 15th overall pick. There was like 10 receivers taken before Gallup. Rick Federick says, is Deontay Thompson a surprise cut? No. Standard only says Allen Hurns. Taryn McKinnon says 2 is 1, 1 is none. That's why the Eagles survived and managed to pull off a Super Bowl. Priority-wise, I'd put safety first, and then coaches are satisfied with the receivers, not a concern. Expand on that point about the Eagles. Are you saying the Eagles didn't have a number one? I mean, Alshon Jeffrey might have been hurt portions of the year last year, but Alshon Jeffrey was a legit one. Plus, this is about having playmakers that can win one-on-one battles. Zach Ertz is that kind of guy. Cowboys don't have... Look at the receivers and tight ends. Do the Cowboys have a playmaker like Zach Ertz? I mean, I'm not trying to lift up the Eagles here, but let's not underplay the type of weapons that the Eagles had last year. They might not have had a true number one, but they had guys that you could feel in the course of their careers, Alshon Jeffrey's been a 1. I mean, Allen Hurns has never been a 1. He has one 1,000-yard receiving season to his name. That's not enough. John Dyer says if it's 3rd and short, they'll probably run a lot more than most teams. Yeah, but I'd say 3rd and short. Byron shut down Ertz, didn't he? I mean, okay. I mean, that was his deal as a rookie year. He was a tight end eraser. G. Garcia says, was it Emmanuel Sanders? No. Amari Cooper was the last rookie receiver to have over 1,000 yards receiving. He did it in 2015, and he was the 15th overall pick. No rookie receiver had over 1,000 yards in 2016. No rookie receiver had over 1,000 yards in 2017. Tim Hasty says, Ari, I think the key is Zeke and the defense as well as the O-line, as long as whoever is at quarterback. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Agreed. Zeke and the offensive line are the key, but Like, you can win a handful of games against bad teams with a good running game and a good offensive line. But to get where the Cowboys want to go, to win 13 games, 10-plus games, get to the playoffs, win playoff games, you can't just be one-dimensional and run the football well. Bottom line, teams are going to bail out to stop Zeke and force you to beat them on the outside in one-on-one matchups. And if you can't do it, you're not going to win. You're not going to win 10, 11 games. You're not going to get to the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. It starts up front, Tim. I agree. It starts with Zeke, and that's how they're built. It starts with Zeke and the offensive line, but you got to keep a defense honest. And I'm not saying that Dak isn't going to be able to do that, but it's just I don't know who that guy is, and they believe they fixed their issue, which was to get rid of a number one, and maybe it's addition by subtraction by getting rid of Dez, but it was a question mark before the season started. It remains a question. It was a question mark before the preseason started. It's been a question mark. It remains a question mark, and until I see them consistently win on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and this is not if they do it against Carolina, they're going to do it all year. Remember, judge the season in quarters. Judge the season in quarters. Don't judge individual play from one game. I know we're going to, but I'm telling you, I'm imploring you, judge based on 4 games, quarters. So take things away from the first game, second game, third game, fourth game. After the fourth game, you can say, these are things we've seen consistently through 4 games. Some things you'll see in 1 game. Some things you'll see in 2 games. But if we see it in 4 games, that's a trend. That's a pattern. That's good. 1 game, I don't care. Kerry Teagle says, keep it real, Ari. That's why I watch you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Going back. Lisa Andriani says, Amari Cooper. Was that before I said it? If so, fantastic. You were right. Mike Evans, the receiver, says Beasley's going to tear it up this year. He's going to be uncomfortable when he runs his routes. Okay. Here's what defenses did to Cole Beasley last year. They doubled him. They took him away. They knew that 2 years ago Beasley was the key to the Cowboys' success, so they took Beasley away. So that's what I'm saying. Now, Linehan and Jason Garrett said they've got it figured out, and we'll see if they've got it figured out. But until I've seen 4 games over a 4-game stretch, they've got it figured out. I'm not going to believe they've got it figured out. Kerry Teagle says we are good having a safety blanket at linebacker if the general happens to go down. Yeah, I wrote about this too. So one of the perceptions of the Cowboys starting from OTAs to now that's remained constant is the receivers. One that's changed drastically is their defense, and maybe most specifically their linebacking core. I mean, their linebacking core has been bad in recent history. I mean, look at last year. They had one of the worst third down defenses in the NFL last year, and that was all because of their linebackers, and it was all because of Jalen Smith, and it was because Jalen Smith was put in a bad spot last year. So he couldn't go sideline to sideline. He could not plant and cut because he couldn't feel his foot. He was dealing with drop foot, and because of the injury to Sean Lee and Anthony Hitchens, he was put in that spot. He was put in a bad spot, and so teams just like, oh my God, did they make Jalen Smith look bad? And they exploited him. And they exploited the Cowboys' defense. They were really bad in third down. Jalen Smith, I mean, and John Dyer can attest to this, I've been very pessimistic about Jalen Smith the entire time. What he's doing right. Like, if Jalen Smith, what he did last year is an unbelievable accomplishment. Just to get back on the field and play as many snaps as he played after the injury. That's a 30 for 30 by itself. Where he's at right now is incredible. It's unfathomable. It's unbelievable where Jalen Smith is at right now. Plus, Joe Thomas looks like potentially another Will McClay steal. And, I mean, they're loaded at linebacker. And I said this before, and I'll continue to say it. Offensive line's the best positional group on this team. But linebacker's second, and that's crazy. That's crazy. Diego Maista says, is Tyron Smith really injured? I mean, he's got a bad back. Bad backs don't just improve as you get older. So they're going to have to manage. You play in an NFL game, you're going through a car crash. So if you have a bad back and you managed it all off season and you've done all the right things, I mean, as soon as those regular season games start, I mean, it's difficult. He's going to be dealing with the bad back throughout the course of the season. There's no question about that. The only question is whether or not he can manage it well enough. Same goes for Zach Martin. Not a bad back. Probably not as bad, but the knee. He's got a bone bruise. And, he might be looking great right now, but he doesn't have enough time from the time that he suffered the injury to the start of the season to where he can give it enough rest to fully heal. So he's going to be dealing with that lingering bone bruise all year, and he's going to be in a car crash in every game. So you just hope that guys there's the offensive line, I wrote about this, is very precariously perched right now. It's Travis Frederick and Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. All three of those guys, so important for their success. They're all dealing with things that could be humongous issues for this team. Billy Burke says, tagging for you. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that very much. Be like Billy Burke. BLBB. Tag friends of yours that are Cowboys fans that you think might like this stream. Make sure to tell them about this show that happens every day at noon Central right here on Phantom, facebook.com/watch Phantom. Ian Goldberg says Duke Thomas would be number 5, but I'm hearing Donovan Olumba because of his size and Chris Richard's Yeah. That's one of the final cornerback spots. Charvarius Ward had locked that thing up until they traded him. So now it's Duke Thomas or Donovan Olumba, who Olumba, again, probably fits more of the Chris Richard mold. But, I think the thing that people don't understand about Olumba is this is year 5 for him in the league. He's not an undrafted free agent rookie coming. This is a guy that hasn't made much hay in 5 years in the NFL. Duke Thomas might not fit the Chris Richard mold, but this is, I think, year 3 for him. He's been with the Cowboys. I would probably keep Duke Thomas over Olumba, just because Olumba played well, I think, towards the end of preseason. But again, this is a guy in year 5. This isn't an undrafted rookie. John Dyer says Ari was a Jalen Smith dream crusher. I was, but I have changed my ways, John. Because if you had what he's doing defies medical science, or maybe it's a celebration of modern medical science. I don't know. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible, and you cannot downplay how incredible it is. Marco Ibarra Sr. says when first ringers are out there, it seems our offense stalled because it's built around Zeke. So, this is annoying. Marco, the first string offense without Zeke in the preseason scored on half of its possessions. 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. So, not bad. You definitely want touchdowns. And the field goal is the Jason Garrett special. That guy gets across the 50 and he gets a hard-on because he can kick his field goal. So, I'm of the belief that on a 4th and 5 or shorter, you should always go for it on the other team's side of the 50. Always. Always. The analytics tell you, if you go for it on the team's opposite side of the 50, every time on 4th and 5 or shorter, you're going to score more points over the course of the season than if you kick field goals. So if you do it all the time, one, your team has confidence and knowledge they're going to go for it in those situations, so they're going to have more confidence within those situations. They're not caught off guard by it. The mentality of the psyche is important. But 2, because you're going to end up scoring more touchdowns out of it. You might not convert every one of them. Of course you're not going to convert every one of them, but you're going to end up scoring more touchdowns out of it, and 7 is worth more than 3. You have to score 3 field goals versus 1 touchdown. So think about the math there. You go for it 3 times on 4th and 5 or less from the 50, and one of those 3 leads to a touchdown, and the other 3 lead to turning the ball over. Yeah, if you kick 3 field goals, you'd have 9 points, but the point being, the average in the NFL in those situations is higher than 1 out of 3. It's a lot of math. My head hurts. All right, what else we got? A reminder to support what we're doing here at Phantom. Check out our sponsors. BetDSI is one of our sponsors. It's only a game until you bet. Go to BetDSI, use promo code PHANTOM, F-A-N-T-O-M, and there you will get 100% of your deposit back. Matched. Up to $2,500. So you go to BetDSI.com, use promo code PHANTOM, you put in $1,000, and BetDSI will give you $1,000. So support, I'm not saying you have to deposit $1,000, I'm simply saying that's hypothetically what you could do. Or you could go to BetDSI.com, make a deposit of $25, and you'll get another $25 to play with. BetDSI.com, it's only a game until you bet, promo code PHANTOM. Let's see here. What else we got? Just want to make sure I'm checking on all the pages we're broadcasting upon. And I want to thank everybody for being a part of the stream. We're starting to see more and more people become daily streamers, and that's awesome. That's obviously really huge, and I'm really appreciative of everybody that watches this show, that shares this show, that joins the show every day. Guys like Ian Goldberg and John Dyer and Joe Deasy and Kerry Teagle and Joe Tranchina. And Joe Tranchina's in Sicily, by the way, which is like, it must be like 8 o'clock p.m. there. Chris Bennett, Diego Maestas, hope I'm saying his name right, Tyler Cutright, John and Meg, a lot of great folks that are streaming the show every single day. Curtis Starks, so I appreciate all of them. And again, the quickest, fastest way to have your comments read on this show every day are by streaming it through the Phantom page, facebook.com/Watch Phantom. Shout out to EBSN Online and Producer G, Big Game James. Rod Barnes says need quarterback. Lee Rose says glad to see JML playing well, definite fit, a good backup with more reps, and work will be a monster. Yeah, again, I didn't even mention Justin March Lillard, who... I mean, they're loaded at linebacker. They drafted Chris Covington in the 5th round out of Indiana, and he's not going to make this team. Or 6th round, I should say. He's not going to make this team. There are probably 3 draft picks. They're on the bubble right now. 4th pick, their 4th round pick, Dalton Schultz, their 5th round pick, Mike White, and their 6th round pick, Chris Covington. All 3 of those guys might not make this football team. Which obviously isn't great. It speaks to depth. I think in Dalton Schultz's case, I don't know what it speaks to. At this point, maybe they just keep him because it you know, why not? What else we got? Sorry, just trying to see all the comments, all you great folks. Clint Proctor says, Ari was at the game last night. Cooper Rush should not be trusted with second string. It's not that I disagree with you. I just... Sure. Go sign Joshua Dobbs. I just don't think that this organization, like they see Cooper Rush as, well, he knows the system. So they prioritize knowledge of the system over, having a better player. Because clearly in 4 preseason games, Cooper Rush has not inspired much confidence. I mean, he's looked bad. His numbers are horrible. He had 6 touchdowns and no picks in 4 preseason games last year. He had like 2 touchdowns and 6 picks this preseason. He's bad. But my perspective on it is the Cowboys will prioritize system knowledge over signing somebody that has more talent and is better. Plus, Cooper Rush has red hair, and I'm sure Jason Garrett likes that too. All right, Jerry Turner in the house on the Silver and Blue Nations page. Also, Alec Cash in the house. Alec Cash does fantastic work as well. Ryan Drab, love what he does, along with Tyson, West Coast Cowboy. Go support them. I'm Ari Temkin. Thank you all for being a part of today's broadcast. I'm back Monday. Guys, we are officially in game week on Monday. Woo! Get excited. Thank you again to all of our partners. In 7 minutes, our brand new fantasy football show is going to debut at YouTube. Go to Watch Mojo and watch it there. Tweet out links, share it on Facebook, whatever you can do. Check it out in 6 minutes. 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. Go check it out. What the Football, WTF, Watch Mojo on YouTube. Go check it out. We're very excited about it. Back Monday. Thanks all for being a part of the broadcast.